UFC interim heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall did an interview earlier today where he absolutely buried Jon Jones. And not only that, he called out Dana White and the UFC for the ridiculous state of the disgraceful heavyweight division. And we're going to take a look at that interview in a second. But we all know what Dana White's been doing. Nonstop just sucking on Jon Jones. And here's the thing about Jon Jones. He's got 2 German Shepherds. You know, he has guns. He smacks spray paint cans at a teenager's hands who were trying to graffiti up the town. And 2 guys go in the room and blah, 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 so on and so forth. And while we all want to see Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, instead Dana White's going to book Jon Jones versus the dead, rotten corpse of Stipe Miocic, who's been answering phones at the fire department for the last 4 damn years. And I'm sick of it. And I know the fans are on my side when it comes to this scenario, but I'm sick of this in general in the UFC. If you guys follow my channel, you already know this. I'm sick of having a fight that all the fans want to see. And in this case, you have a champion, an undisputed champion in Jon Jones, and you have the clear-cut #1 contender and also interim champion in Tom Aspinall. And instead, the UFC is going to go a different direction. It's a disgrace, and I'm tired of it. We need to have some semblance of a meritocracy. And giving Stipe Miocic, who hasn't won a fight in 4 years, and in his last fight was folded like a lawn chair, giving him a title shot when you have a guy like Tom Aspinall, who's done a lot of work in the heavyweight division, is a complete and utter disgrace. We need to call it out. We need to put pressure on the UFC. Now, I want to start off by looking at a clip from this Dana White, Kevin Iole interview from a couple weeks ago. Now, I'll link this full interview in the description. I'll link everything that I show you in the video down in the description if you guys care to go check it out. And I did an entire video on this exchange, but I want to show you like a minute or 2 of this exchange because some of the things that Dana White says in this interview, I think were the catalyst for what pissed Tom Aspinall off. And he's not appearing to be angry in the interview, but you can tell a switch has flipped. And now he's starting to go at Dana White in the UFC. And I think it kind of started here. It's not going to be the first clip. The first clip is just going to be typical Dana White. I want to show you guys this because this is downright delusional and ridiculous. But the second clip is where he starts to get into Tom Aspinall. And I think that's what kind of flipped that switch for Tom Aspinall. Let's listen.
Jon Jones is ranked number 3 pound for pound in the world.
Fighting in the UFC.
The most fucking ridiculous, embarrassing, stupid, know nothing about fucking fighting ranking of all fucking time.
Yeah, well, he doesn't fight, Dana. He doesn't fight. By the way, I already did a video on this. Check it down in the description. It's like a high detailed video where we look through this. It's like a 6-minute exchange. I'm only going to show you about 1.5 minutes of it here.
Jon Jones is still an active fighter. He beat Cyril Gane. He got injured. He was supposed to fight. He's going to fight again in November. Jon Jones is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world, period, end of story. Whoever, whether you want to call, Islam.
By the way, the context to this, Kevin Iole's challenging him on this and saying Jon Jones isn't the #1 pound for pound because he's inactive. So as Dana White's going off on this rant, Kevin Iole's like, let me just take a drink real quick. Great interview by Kevin Iole. I highlighted this in the previous video.
Herrera, number 2, number 3, all good. To have anybody above Jon Jones right now just goes to show that you know absolutely fucking nothing about combat sports and fighting. Number 1. Number 2, the other thing about Jon Jones, when you talk about inactivity, any fighter in the history of fighting, including the god, who you consider a god and I consider a god, Muhammad Ali, was never the same again after his 3-year layoff, right? And Muhammad Ali wasn't doing bad things to himself.
Yeah, he wasn't doing bad things to himself. You got to do bad things to yourself to be pound for pound #1, okay?
Right.
Like Jon Jones was.
Yeah.
And Jon Jones comes back and looks even better. It's undebatable. It's undebatable. Anybody who even tries to debate this with me, you're just hating on Jon Jones and you don't like him as a person. And I get it, but
there's nothing I would love more to debate Dana White on this topic. He would never do it because he's scared of everyone. He can't even take any questions from media members with any pushback without getting all pissy. But like, yeah, they're trying to get me. They asked me, hey, has your policy changed on your flag policy? He's like, yeah, they're trying to get me with a gotcha question. This guy acts so tough, but he's literally so soft. He would never debate anyone on this actual topic. I'm glad Kevin actually pushed back on him.
It's not about whether you like him or don't like him or whatever. It's about based on facts and what he's done in his career.
I'm going to stop it right there because Kevin Ioli's question coming up here in a second is just absolutely hilarious. But he asked about Tom Aspinall, and the answer he gets here is so delusional and so ridiculous that I literally could not believe it the first time I watched it.
I'm going to move on because there's a lot of questions and not a lot of time. But I don't hate Jon Jones, and I agree with you. The only disagreement we have is that he hasn't been active in 15 months, and he's fought one time in 4+ years.
Why wasn't? If he's just sitting around, spending money.
But that's why you have interim champions, isn't it?
If you don't fight, you're not pound for pound. Oh, so what if he got injured and never returned? Is he just pound for pound forever? Makes no sense. But shout out to Kevin Ioli for pressing him on this.
Isn't that why you have the interim champion?
But he was training, and he got injured. He was trying to fight.
All right, so we're just going to skip ahead to the question about Tom Aspinall now because Dana White just continuing to suck off Jon Jones left and right like it's his job.
Not enough being not.
So the question's not actually in here. I just got the response because I wanted to cut down on time on this. But he's asked about Tom Aspinall and his performance. And he starts to compliment him and then immediately basically starts to de-promote him.
Not enough credit being given for this. What he did to Curtis Blades, the way that he did it and how fast he did it.
Right.
There's no doubt. I mean, this guy is a scary dude and he looks like the future.
By the way, there's not enough credit being given to him. I wonder who that's by. Whose number one job is to promote their fighters? I wonder. Oh, yeah, it should be Dana White. But, he went to the 304 post-fight press conference, barely promoted Tom Aspinall, didn't say one positive thing about Bilal Muhammad, but yet all he does is talk about power slap 24/7 and Jon Jones, And Tom Aspinall actually makes fun of Dana White in the interview. He's like, yeah, you can ask Dana White about, hey, Dana, what the weather's going to be tomorrow? What's the temperature outside right now? Here's the thing about Jon Jones. That's Dana White. But let's listen to him because what he says here is, I think, what ticked Tom Aspinall off.
Of the heavyweight division, right? But at the same time, he's working his way up.
What? I've already broken this down, but what? He's working his way up? He's interim champion, you dipshit. What is this bald motherfucker talking about?
Climbing up the ladder, and everybody's like, he deserves this, and he deserves that, and he doesn't deserve anything.
He doesn't deserve anything? Then why'd you give him an interim belt? Almost a year ago up until this point. You're going to stick him in purgatory waiting for Jon Jones? Next thing you know, he's going to be Michael Chandler. He's going to have sat out for 3 years waiting for a fight he may never get. He wants to be the undisputed champion. He wants to be the best in the world. He's put on great performances against great fighters in the heavyweight division. He's earned himself the interim heavyweight title. He deserves to fight for the undisputed. And instead, best case scenario, in November, the winner retires, and then Tom Aspinall can then now be promoted to the undisputed champion and then defend his undisputed title. What an absolute joke to say he doesn't deserve anything, and he's working his way up the ladder. Complete and utter joke. One other thing I want to look at from Dana White is, just some crazy stuff. Oh, what is that? How did that get there? I don't know how that got there. This is, contrary to popular belief, this is not Michael Chandler. I know they're the same height, but this is not Michael Chandler. This is just Conor McGregor and some midget at Sturgis, I think is how you pronounce it, at BKFC. But I don't know how that got there. Anyway, we got another clip recently about Dana White and Jon Jones. This guy will not shut up about Jon Jones. Hop off his dick, Baldy. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I'm going to explain after this clip why this is. And a lot of MMA fans are at fault for this. They've created this monster, and nobody's pointing that out. I'm going to point it out in this video. I've pointed it out in other videos.
We're here today at the Fanatics Fan Fest here, and I wanted to up my card game. I have some cards. I got some Brady, some Jordan guys I like. What's crazy is I don't have a lot of UFC shit. So Matt is an expert on all this stuff, and he helped me pick out what are not only
what card could he possibly hold up in here in a second?
the most expensive cards, but what have the potential for the most value. All you little fucking crybabies out there, Jon Jones, okay? Jon Jones, pound for pound, #1 fighter in the world. Go ahead. Yeah.
This is the epitome of what Dana White is up to while it's UFC 305 fight week. Duplessis, Israel Adesanya. This is what he's doing. He's promoting a guy that does not fight. That has not fought. Who has one fight since 2020. February of 2020, Jon Jones has one fight since then. And this is what Dana White's doing. This is his sole focus. And you know why this is? And if this applies to you, take offense. If this does not apply to you, just completely ignore this. This is your guys' fucking fault, okay? A large portion of the MMA community's fault for this. Because you know why Dana's doing this? Because he's pissed at Francis Ngannou. He didn't want there to be any doubt that Jon Jones is better than Francis Ngannou, and it didn't matter that Francis Ngannou left. And before this whole situation kind of played out with Tom Aspinall as the interim champion, it didn't really matter. You had Dana White saying, yeah, did you see what he did to Cyril? Did you see what Jon Jones did to Cyril Gahn? I mean, he has 2 German Shepherds at home. Now he comes in and chokes out Cyril Gahn. It's because he wanted to elevate Jon Jones so much that you would just completely forget about Francis Ngannou and his incredible run in the UFC, and the fact that he left as UFC heavyweight champion and then went out there and boxed one of the best heavyweight boxers in the world and arguably won and dropped him. Dana White wanted to completely erase Francis from their minds. I did a video recently about Francis Ngannou. I'll link that down in the description as well. Israel Adesanya called them out for this. That is why he's gone so hard on the Jon Jones narrative. It's because of Francis Ngannou. So every one of the little Dana White sycophants, the WME zombies, the Zuffa zombies, the WME shills, this is your fault. You know when you regurgitated what Dana said to make Ngannou look bad because you were mad that he left? You know, just regurgitating, and he's like, yeah, Jon Jones, Francis left because he was scared of Jon Jones. He doesn't want to take any risk. And all the MMA fans were like, hell yeah, brother. He didn't want to take any risk. He's going out there and fighting elite level boxers for much higher paychecks than the UFC was willing to offer, but that's besides the point. You're the reason for this. I just wanted to cover that in this video. Now, the next thing I want to show you is the last thing I want to show you before the interview. Apparently, there's a YouTube video coming from Tom Aspinall, but this is the first time I saw Tom Aspinall even hint at calling out Dana White in the UFC because he's getting fed up. His career is being log jammed for 2 old fighters who don't even want to fight him once they win or lose at whatever event they fight at, which is supposedly in a couple months in November. Listen to this.
This week, actually, we've got a cracking video coming up. We're going to clap back. We're clapping back.
Hello, John. I have nothing against you personally, but I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a fight.
We're after Jon Jones. We want the Jon Jones fight around here. We're trying to make it happen. Fans want to see it happen. Everyone wants to see it happen. Apparently, according to Mr. Dana White, the CEO, the main dog, the best, not even mixed martial artist promoter, the best combat sports promoter ever, is saying that Jon Jones is the pound for pound #1. How do I feel about that? How do I feel about fighting the pound for pound #1 in the world? Make sure you like and subscribe. You're going to find out this week. I'm going to reply to Dana White. I'm going to reply to Jon Jones. And we're coming for you, man. Jon Jones, we are coming for you on the channel. Not just on the channel. We're coming.
All right, go ahead and come for Jon Jones. Pause. But anyway, this is the first inclination of Tom Aspinall finally getting fed up. Now, he has not put out this video yet, but he gave quite a good sample on Michael Bisping's podcast, which we're going to take a look at here. Because he actually goes after him. Stipe catches some strays. Let's just jump right into it. Because he's confused. Like, what's going on here? What's going on here? This makes no sense. And I'm glad that he's calling this out. Because this slips by far too often. And fans just, it doesn't matter, you know. Bilal's on a 10-fight unbeaten streak, and Colby's going to get a shot even though he hasn't won a fight in years, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And everyone's like, oh, it's fine. Colby's a draw. He gets social media clicks. So he was not even a real draw. And people just defend this stuff. And now it's happening to Tom Aspinall here. And Tom Aspinall's just been quiet for a little while. And now he's finally defended his interim belt, and he's got even more of a claim to it. He's like, look, I don't want to waste my career sitting on the sidelines. I want to fight. Listen to this.
It was good. Am I right, though? Am I right or not? Because what the fuck's going on? What what is going on? Like,
You haven't heard anything about that fight happening or anything.
I've heard nothing. Nothing. So, like, they want me to be a backup fighter for it, but why are you giving a guy who's 42, whatever, however old he is? I mean, I completely understand, mate. I have the utmost respect for Stipe and what he's done in his career.
Why are you giving a guy in Stipe Miocic, who right now is 42 years old, just turned 42 yesterday. I'm just seeing this now right here. Happy birthday, Stipe. Hope the fire department's treating you right. A 42-year-old man, last win, August 15th, 2020. A couple days ago was the 4-year anniversary since his last win. His last fight, Francis Ngannou, got folded like a lawn chair. Completely ridiculous that he's even fighting for the title. Good for calling
I'm
it
Jon
out.
Jones, on the contrary to what people might think. Respect them guys more than I can even put into words. But they don't fucking deserve to be fighting for the heavyweight title. Them guys are not the top of the heavyweight division right now. Let's not, Dana White and everybody else can say whatever they want. Them guys aren't the best heavyweights in the world right now.
Facts. Oh, this is going to get in Dana White's craw bad. Don't be surprised if Tom Aspinall gets stripped soon. I doubt he would do that because the heavyweight division is so, kind of shallow in general, and they want Aspinall to be their champ after Jones and Stipe go, which hopefully soon. But he's right. He's right. They're not the best heavyweights in the world. Jon Jones beat Cyril Gane in March of 2023. It is now August of 2024. And he's not even going to fight Aspinall. Stipe, again, we just looked at his resume. I'm not going to say it again. Folded like a lawn chair in his last fight. Makes no sense. Shout out to Tom Aspinall for finally going after him because it makes no sense. What the fuck is going on? It's like Howie Booth's, card in the Tai Tuivasa fight. 30-27 tied to Avasa? What the fuck is going on here? This makes no sense, and it makes even less sense when you think about no fans even want to see it. So good on Tom Aspinall for calling it out. Next clip. He starts to go after Jon Jones here, and what he's saying here is pretty much facts. I mean, he's saying, look, Jon Jones was praying that I would lose to Curtis Blades.
Jon Jones, he was praying that I would lose that fight against Curtis Blades, mate. Praying that I would.
And that's true. 100% he was. Because everyone's saying, you got to fight Tom. You got to fight Dom. And I understand it's annoying for Jones. And I've seen this trend. And I've actually defended Jones a bit. Because it's always been, it's the next guy. It's the next guy. It's the next guy. But for me, it's not necessarily about fighting Tom Aspinall. Even though that's the fight I want to see. It's about the fact that Tom Aspinall has earned it. He has earned it. And Stipe has not. Maybe 2 years ago. Maybe, he wasn't even champion 2 years ago. Or Jones wasn't champion. But this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And in a second here, he absolutely just buries Jon Jones here. Which is hilarious. Because this is the type of statements he needs to make to bait Jon Jones into a fight. And I believe it could be successful. Probably unlikely. It's probably never going to happen. But this is what Tom Aspinall needs to be saying publicly a lot.
Because there is nowhere that you can find publicly. Nowhere. Him saying that he will fight me. It doesn't exist. I challenge anybody watching this interview to go and find a statement, a quote, a video where Jon Jones is saying that he'll fight me after he's fought Stipe. It doesn't exist. The guy's smart. And mate, the guy, we know he's a bit overweight these days. The guy,
he's trying to collect a paycheck against Stipe and ride off into the sunset. Which I get it, but at that point then, if they're so desperate to make Jones Stipe, strip Jones, elevate Tom, and let them fight each other, let Tom defend his belt. Tom could be fighting every 3 months, getting these first-round finishes and not taking any damage, and the heavyweight division's full of bums.
I was sat there, mate, with the Cheeto fingers or whatever, the Doritos on his fingers, with his iPhone in hand, waiting for me to get knocked out so he can start tweeting about it. Let's be honest. And since I won that fight, he's gone completely quiet. And he'll continue to go completely quiet about me until he retires, because there's no way on earth that he's going to fight me. Not a chance. I will retire Jon Jones without even fighting him.
Damn. Where did he steal that line off? Conor McGregor? Or Conor McGregor's just thinking that about Michael Chandler? But yeah, he won't even mention my name because he doesn't want to fight. He does not want to fight. I'll retire him without even fighting him. And I just think this is the type of talking points that are facts that Tom Aspinall needs to keep regurgitating in the MMA media scape so that Jon Jones maybe gets baited into it. Maybe somehow this fight could come to fruition. And damn, would it be a banger. And I think the pay-per-views would do incredible. I think it would do better than a Stipe Miocic fight. So I think it would be beneficial for everyone involved. But this isn't just on Jon Jones. This is on Dana and the UFC. Because they're the ones at the end of the day calling the shots here. And they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to give it to Stipe. Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall is the way bigger fight. Next clip we're going to take a look at. And I mean, everything that Aspinall says here is just facts, man. He's like basically complaining that he's tired. The heavyweight belt is being held hostage here, which we've seen this happen before. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And this would have never happened if Francis Ngannou would still been here. This would have never happened.
You know, the way I look at it, I'm the best heavyweight in the world, and I'm not getting my credit for it. They're holding the belt hostage, mate, and Jon Jones is loving it. He's loving the fact that Dana White is getting on every interview possible. Freaking hell, you talk about something, you're talking about bantamweights, and Dana White flips it back and starts talking about how good Jon Jones is. I'm like, mate, if he's that good, let's fight. Like, I'm the #1 heavyweight in the world right now. Let's put it on the line and let's see who the man is, me or John. It's simple as that. It's not.
That is true. No matter what you say to Dana. But hey, Dana, what'd you have for dinner last night? You have anything good? Jon Jones is the pound for pound #1. You ask any educated adult who knows anything about the sport, and Jon Jones is pound for pound #1. That no matter what, Dana will go into that, rant over and over and over again, and they'll be like, "Sir, this is a Wendy's. Can we take your order?" He's like, "Jon Jones is #1 pound for pound. I don't want to hear it." And good on Tom Aspinall for calling this out, because it's getting annoying, man. I mean, this is funny here. I want to go back to this real quick. This is funny, but like, this is getting annoying. This is getting completely and utterly annoying. Let's get back to the interview. The next clip, we're going to look at 2 more clips. In this next clip, I understand where Aspinall's coming from here, and I love the mindset, but there's no way, shape, or form that this will ever come to fruition. We'll break it down in a second.
Briefly, and you mentioned it just there. So you're going to be the backup fighter for the fight between Stipe and Jon. Is that confirmed?
Yes, mate, that's confirmed. And I will jump in on 1 hour's notice if I have to and beat either of them.
Love it. Love the attitude. Never going to happen. It does not matter. I'm telling you right now, Jon Jones nor Stipe Miocic will take Tom Aspinall on short notice. And actually, I don't blame him in that case. I don't blame him. But it's never going to happen. This backup fighter role for Tom Aspinall is a myth. Unless Stipe or Jones pulls out a month, like a month notice, maybe. I would say like 20% they take it if they have a month's notice. 2 months notice, maybe we're looking at 40% or 30% if they really want to fight again. But most likely, no matter what the circumstances are, they will not accept Tom Aspinall. It just won't happen. I mean, think about Jones. Jones was scheduled to fight Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson pulled out with an injury, and the UFC tried to put Chael Sonnen in there. Chael Sonnen was coming off a loss. Chael Sonnen was a weight class down. It was an easy win for Jones. Jones said, no, I'm not fighting a completely different opponent on 2 weeks' notice that I didn't game plan for, because a big part of my success has been my fight IQ and my game plans. And Dana White had to cancel the card because the card was so bad. Shout out UFC 151. I would have loved to have a channel back then. It's crazy how long I've been watching the sport. But there's no way Jones is taking this, and I don't think Stipe will either. Same situation with Sergey Pavlovich from last year. Sergey was supposed to be the backup. Guess what ended up happening? There was 2 backups because Tom Aspinall stepped in and fought Sergey Pavlovich for the interim title. So it's never going to happen. It's wishful thinking. I'll step in on an hour's notice. It will never happen in a million years. I'll bet my life on that. Last clip we're going to take a look at is him pointing out, like, look what I've achieved. Look what I've done in the heavyweight division compared to what Jon Jones has done. And it's all facts here. Everything he says is literal facts. So
just let that sink in for a minute.
Oh, geez.
6 guys in the top 10 have finished in the first round.
I say it's facts, but I actually think that's incorrect. I believe it's 5 guys in the top 10 that he's finished in the first round. But we'll check that in a second.
I just beat the #1 contender, who is Sorogan, and the #1 contender before him, who was Sergey Pavlovich, in a combined time.
I think he meant to say Curtis Blades there, so now I'm saying he's not talking facts. I think he was thinking of who Jones fought. The #1 contender in Curtis Blades, but he said Sorogan, and then he's saying Sergey Pavlovich.
For 2 minutes and 7 seconds. 2 fights. So it's like, fucking John's not doing that. He beat one guy, Sorogan, who didn't want to be there 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's walking around calling himself the real champion. Granted, he's having an amazing career. He's been a champion most of his career. Not a heavyweight.
Exactly. Facts. You look at their resumes. 1 win, Ciryl Gane, March of 2023. I mean, this is ancient history at this time. But look at Tom Aspinall. Let's actually check that real quick. So Curtis Blades, that's 1. 2, Sergey Pavlovich. 3, Marcin Tybura. 4, Alexander Volkov. 5, Sergey Pavlovich. Yeah, it's 5. It's not 6, so it's not facts. He just misspoke probably, just, or miscounted. But one thing I do want to compare before we go back and look at the last little bit of that interview, let's look at Stipe Miocic's resume. Let's see who he's beaten in the top 10 or top 15. Okay, we have Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier retired. Okay, let's go down. Francis Ngannou, no longer with the organization. Junior Dos Santos, no longer with the organization. I believe he's retired. He might be fighting in some other organization, I think, at this point. Maybe. Alistair Overeem, no longer here. Fabricio Werdum, no longer here. Andrei Arlovsky, no longer here. Mark Hunt, no longer here. Fabio Maldonado, no longer here. Gabriel Gonzaga, no longer here. Roy Nelson, no longer here. Shane Del Rosario, no longer here. Phil DeFries. Shane Del Rosario's dead. He's been dead for years. And I know this was back in 2012, but still. Phil DeFries, no longer here. Joey Beltran, no longer here. And I already knew this, but I wanted to go through that. Not a single win on Stipe Miocic's resume is even in the UFC. 0 wins against fighters on the UFC roster for Stipe Miocic. So that's also what Tom Aspinall needs to keep hitting on. Stipe's got no wins on the current UFC roster. Basically, Stipe is Uncle Rico. Put me in, Coach. If Coach would have put me in 4th quarter, we would have took States. How much you want to throw? How much you want to bet I could throw a pigskin over those mountains? It's ridiculous, and he needs to call it out, and I'm glad that he is.
I'm the guy at heavyweight, not him, me. So I want to be recognized as the best. I've got the real belt. I'm the one defending. He's defending against a 42-year-old Stipe Miocic with 1,000,000 miles on the clock,
who got folded like a lawn chair in his last fight and also has no wins over fighters on the current UFC roster. You should have said that at the end there too.
If you want to be the real guy, you have to fight me.
Facts. Absolutely facts. And if you look at the heavyweight division, here's what I want to do. Strip Jones. You can still book Jones versus Stipe if you want. Do Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane, or Tom Aspinall versus Alexander Volkov 2, or Tom Aspinall versus Jalton Almeida if he gets a win in his next fight. But let's just get the heavyweight division going, because it seems like the heavyweight division has always been stalled out. As long as I've been watching the sport, it's stalled out for Brock Lesnar and him being sick, or Cain Velasquez being injured, or this or that, and it's trilogy after trilogy. Stipe DC once a year, every year for 3 fucking years. Let's get it going. Tom Aspinall's young. I mean, for the heavyweight division, 31 might as well be 21 in the heavyweight division. Let's get the division going. It's a disgrace that he's now wasting years of his career that we could be watching him fight when he has 15 wins, 11 KOs. 15 wins, 11 finishes because he has 4 submissions. And they're not booking him to fight? This is ridiculous. And I'm glad that he finally called out Dana White in the UFC. I'm glad that he's pushing back on the dumbass pound for pound #1 narrative. Hot take? Maybe hot take. The fans are actually on my side for a change. Tom Aspinall's more pound for pound than Jon Jones. And look, I think Jon Jones is the GOAT. I think he's the greatest of all time. I think he has the best resume of all time. I think a lot of people like to play revisionist history who didn't watch back then and realize how good his resume is. But that's in the past. GOAT status can be determined in the past. We shouldn't be getting in a time machine to justify pound for pound #1. That is crazy. And the fact that Stipe Miocic is getting credit for being heavyweight champion from 4 years ago. I mean, think about how crazy that is. Me and Stipe Miocic have the same amount of wins in the last 4 years in the UFC heavyweight division. Me and Stipe Miocic have the same amount of wins over UFC heavyweights. Actually, that's not even true. Because, look, I didn't want to confess this on a video. I'm Shamil Gaziev, okay? I like to have my own YouTube channel, keep it separate from my fighting career. I might have quit against Jairzinho Rosenstruck, but I recently came back out there and got a win. So I have more wins over current UFC heavyweights than Stipe Miocic, who was folded brutally in his last fight. And I'm just sick and tired of this. I hope Tom does another video calling him out. I look forward to seeing that. If it's something interesting, I will break it down. Make sure to like the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video as well. Road to 30K. I appreciate every single one of you, and thank you for watching.